55 new nodes, dozens of purity changes, new recipes and items being deleted. Before doing anything in Update 1, you need to be aware of these changes since it will affect your game. This video took a while, so grab a snack and grab a drink. Smash that like button on your way in and let's begin the video. Let's start with the recipe changes, since that will most certainly be affecting almost everyone watching the video. Computers, radio control units, heavy modular frames and increased industrial beams are all of the recipes changed that we know of. However, I have got a feeling that there will be a lot more than this. But to make it nice and easy for you guys, I've compared them with their previous basic recipes and also some of their alt recipes as well, to see if we're saving resources or losing some. So let's start with computers, and first we need to break it down.
Let me break it down for you, Mordecai.
Okay, now that I've broken it down, computers now need 4 circuit boards, 8 cable, and 16 plastic per computer. This has changed from 10 circuit boards, 9 cable, 18 plastic, and 52 screws per minute, with the biggest difference obviously being the screws. But to savor our victory, let's have a look at the new recipe that we get. And you do see I am using a couple alternate recipes as well, because again, like I've calculated, these are the best recipes for me personally. Maybe you'll like them as well. So, if you would like to make one computer now, you need 4 circuit boards, and from that you need about 5.2 raw quartz, in total about 11.2 water per minute, and 3.5 copper per minute, which is basically nothing in regards to the circuit board production. You also need 8 cable, which is 1.44 copper ore, which if you don't use this recipe, I think it's about 4 copper ore, but again, use this recipe, and 1 water per minute. And also 16 plastic. In total, this is what you get. The most expensive thing here is really just the plastic, but if you have a good plastic production, this will be fine. And again, we are talking about computers here. You won't be needing to make like 5,000 computers. So realistically, if you use this recipe, you're using basically nothing. A tiny bit of quartz, a very tiny amount of copper ore, a little bit of plastic, and of course a little bit of water. But again, let's compare it to the old recipe, and instantly we can already see there is a heavy hitter. But you need 10 circuit boards, 9 cable, 18 plastic, and 52 screws per minute. And eventually, when you add everything up, this is what you get. Almost 35 water per minute, which again, doesn't sound that bad for one computer. When you're making 100, then that's like, what, 3,440 per minute, which is suddenly quite a lot. Not to mention, you now need iron ore. So again, if you're making 100 of these, that's 700 iron ore that you now have to use for computers. But you no longer do, because again, this is the old recipe, so this is all gone. We're just savoring our victory here, really. 18 plastic, so we've actually lost a couple plastic, which is amazing. Copper ore, that's gone down by about 1/3, or 2/3 even, that's incredible. And raw quartz has also gone down massively as well. But let me very quickly show you this recipe. And this is what personally I am using. Use whatever you want, that's fine. It's called the Crystal Computer. Yeah, Crystal Computer, that's the one. Where we're using circuit boards and crystal oscillator. Which might sound a bit weird, but I love making crystal oscillators, and I'll be having a big mega factory for it, so I might as well use it for something, right? And here we go. These are all the resources that you do need. Water's about 30 per minute, which is a bit more than the other two. Well, a bit more than what we have now, should I say. We do have to use Caterium. Copper is about the same, a little bit less. Rubber is a lot less. You do save oil, which is the main reason I'm using this. And quartz is a bit more as well. So when we compare all 3 recipes, we can see that the old basic recipe loses in every single category compared to the new recipe, or compared to the old, except for I think iron rather than Caterium. But mainly we're looking at these two. And the new version of the computers is basically better in every single way, which might sound great until we get onto our next resource. Moving swiftly on to radio control units, and there has been another change. Originally, the basic recipe consisted of 16 aluminium casing, 0.5 crystal oscillators, and 0.5 computers per radio control unit. That's now changed to 20 aluminium casing, an increase of 4 radio control units, 0.5 crystal oscillators, there's no increase there, and 1 computer, so the amount of computers now doubles. Apparently it will be like this for a lot of computer-based recipes. Like last time though, I've compared the resources needed for production, so let's take a look and let's get depressed together. Oh dear. This right here is the old recipe. Again, I have got a couple alternate recipes dotted throughout here which best suit me, but use whatever you guys feel like. So, radio control units, that goes into the aluminium casing, aluminium ingot, scrap, and we're using about 24.2 bauxite, but we're also technically making, quote unquote making, 16.8 water per minute. So of course you can just reuse back into the cycle because you are actually using 53.2 water per minute. So if you do add that 16.8, you can save yourself a decent amount. We're using 10 petroleum coke for that alt recipe, 24.2 bauxite, almost 15 raw quartz, 7 rubber per minute, and a tiny little sprinkler of copper, whilst also using some caterium as well. And this is the recipe that I'm using. I don't think it's that bad, I like it quite a lot. When we move on to the new recipe though, we can see things do get a little bit worse. So again, everything's normal up here except everything that you see here has been doubled. Everything. That means double the raw quartz, double the circuit boards, double the crystal oscillators. Because this is the recipe I use, obviously. Which I might have to change this now for the new update because we're actually getting a lot less quartz. We'll get onto that, believe that. But the only good thing is that we're technically making, again, quote unquote, making more water, but we are using a lot more water. So we're technically just having to recycle that back into here whilst still using more water. I think almost everything here has gone up. So when we compare this from the new recipe to the old recipe, we can actually see the old recipe is better in every single way. Literally every single way. Like, it's bad. Like, it's really bad. Moving on, we've got the encased industrial beams, and I'm about to say something controversial, and I don't care, because it's my channel, but there is less steel involved in its creation. But I don't know why you would even use the basic recipe to begin with, when there is an alt recipe that is significantly better. But now you can save 1 steel beam per encased industrial beam, or 6 per minute. This change, however, is actually quite concerning, because the reason they did that is because of the new heavy modular frame recipe, which used to be 5 modular frames, 15 steel pipe, 5 encased industrial beams, and 100 screws per frame. Now that's changed to 5 modular frames, which has remained the same, 20 steel pipes, which is an increase of 5 encased industrial beams, which again remained the same, and 120 screws per minute, which is an increase of 20 screws per frame. Not per minute, that's my bad, per frame. Meaning you're going to use more iron, guaranteed, but also more steel pipes if you were using the alt recipe for the EIB, which is the encased industrial beam. However, I won't be using that. Instead, I'll be using the heavy encased frame recipe instead, because I don't like screws. Also, I save on modular frames as well, and encased industrial beams, and steel pipes. It just adds extra concrete, but I have a mega factory planned for that anyway, so this is not a concern. If you would like to do the maths on all 3 of these recipes, go ahead, but I do recommend using that alt recipe, the heavy encased frames, if you want to save on some resources. So, those are all the changes that we know of, well, so far, in regards of recipe changes, right? Nuh-uh, because beacons are being removed, gone, kaput. And in regards of rotors, the basic recipe is still the best in my opinion, but use whichever one you want. Again, I am just a random guy on the internet. Do whatever you feel is best for you. Furthermore, flower petals are being removed as well. Today, I learned that you can use them as fuel for vehicles, but they're mostly known for color cartridges. And from that, you can make dozens of unique patterns on the road. Wait, so does this mean that all the patterns are going to be deleted from Satisfactory? Well, I don't think so, because color cartridges used to be used for painting your factory. Now, that's free. So they might be doing the same thing with patterns. I'm not sure why this change is happening, but I'm sure there is a reason behind it, so hopefully all the patterns in the game will be free rather than costing you, flower cartridges or color cartridges. So what are flowers going to be used for? Are they just fully deleting them? I guess we'll find out. So, with all this, you're probably wondering, how many bananas can you eat before dying of radiation poisoning? The answer is 10 million. You're also probably wondering, are we losing any resources? Well, luckily, I have an answer. Starting with sulfur. So, there are 3 sulfur nodes being either lost or moved, with 0 purity increases. And unfortunately, there are actually 5 purity decreases, which is the most out of any resource, and all of which is going from either normal or pure down to impure. Despite that, we are actually gaining 8 more sulfur nodes, which means we're gonna have 16 nodes in total. I don't know why my voice cracked there. 16?! The total collectible amount of sulfur before was 6,840 per minute. And now the total collectible sulfur is 8,220 per minute, which is an amazing increase of 1,380 sulfur per minute when using the MK3 miners at full 250% efficiency. And again, I'm not including resources that you can't collect from a 250% MK3 miner. Because if you fully power it up, you can get like 1,200 resources per minute, but there's no belt in the game capable of transporting that, so that's why I've calculated it like that. Moving swiftly on to Caterium. 5 nodes have been either lost or moved, with 1 purity increase. And also there's been 1 purity decrease. Like I mentioned earlier, these two just cancel each other out, don't worry about it. In total, we gain 1 node. And in total, we have 17 Caterium nodes dotted all over the Satisfactory world. Before, the total collectible Caterium was 11,040 per minute. And now, after update 1, that's increased from 11,040 to 11,640, which is an increase of 600 collectible Caterium per minute, which is about a 5% increase. Moving on to Quartz, 8 nodes have been either lost or moved, including 1 purity increase, one of only 2 nodes in the entire game to have a purity increase, with 0 purity decreases. Additionally, we've gained 8 nodes, which means we've got 17 quartz nodes in total. Before, you could collect 10,500 quartz per minute, and now it's actually decreased to 9,960 quartz per minute. So this is a decrease of 550 quartz per minute, or 5% in total, which might not sound like a massive change, but I was using almost every single quartz available, so I've now got to do some major reworks, which kinda sucks. But let's get back to some good news. Core. 3 core nodes have been either lost or moved, with 0 purity increases and 0 purity decreases. In total, we have gained 12 new nodes, which means we have an astonishing amount of 61 core nodes in the game. Did you know that there was 49 core nodes before this update? I thought there was like 16 or 17, but no, now there's 61 core nodes dotted all across the Satisfactory world, which is massive. For 1.0, the total collectible core was 30,120 per minute. After 1.0, the total collectible core is 32,700 per minute, which is an increase of 2,580 core per minute, which is only around about 7% or 7.7%. But hey, I mean, that's still an increase. I'm down for that. More core, more power, more steel. Heck, I'll take that. Also, it's very important to note that iron, copper, and limestone have all completely changed, but we are unsure about the purity at this time. If we are to take this image into granted though, 3 iron nodes have either been lost or moved, but we've gained 9, which means we've got a net gain of 6 iron nodes. 0 copper nodes have been either lost or moved, but we've gained 7, which means we have a net gain of 7 copper nodes. And with limestone, take this, 0 nodes have been removed, or just moved in general, and 9 nodes have been added, which means we've got a net gain of 9 nodes, which means in total we have got 22 new nodes even, from iron, copper, and limestone. But again, the purity is completely unknown, so they're probably all just impure, aren't they, let's be honest. However, I cannot end today's video without talking about geysers, and you might not care too much about this, and personally I couldn't give a single damn about it before, but now things just got a lot more interesting with them. So 0 of these nodes have been lost or moved, 0 of their purities have been increased, and apparently only 3 of their nodes have been decreased in purity, but I think it's a lot more when you actually compare both images side by side. So we have gained an additional 12 geyser nodes, which means in total we have now got 30 geysers. And the good news doesn't just end there. The total average power before this update was 4,500 megawatts. However, the total average power after 1.0 is 6,300 megawatts, which is 1,800 megawatts per minute, about a 30% increase, which of course is amazing. And this is how much it costs just to build one geyser. We've got 8 supercomputers, heavy modular frames, high-speed connectors, there's copper sheets and rubber, but of course supercomputers is very expensive, especially early game, so geysers were always out of the question for an early game or even a mid-game player. But luckily, they have made some changes, as we can see here. So, they have replaced supercomputers with AI limiters. We don't know exactly how much, but I'm gonna guess it's roughly 10. So now you only need 10 AI limiters, 16 heavy modular frames, 16 high-speed connectors, 40 copper sheets, and 80 rubber. But if you want to place down all 30 geysers, like what I want to do, this is the amount of resources that you need. Around about, maybe, 300 AI limiters, 480 heavy modular frames, 480 high-speed connectors, 1,200 copper sheets, and 2,400 rubber. In all honesty, the copper sheets and the rubber aren't much of an issue. You can easily just go AFK and craft that within a certain amount of minutes, or hours depending on your rates. High-speed connector is a little bit more challenging, but you should be able to do that in a decent amount of time. Heavy modular frame, again, more challenging. I need 480 of them. That is going to take time unless you're deep into the mid game or if you're in late game. And 300 AI limiters, when you unlock this and this, you should be able to craft them in a decent amount of time. But it goes without saying, this is a lot cheaper than having around about 250 supercomputers. So I mean, heck, that's saving you a lot. Yeah, I just did the maths and it's 240 supercomputers that you're saving, which is, again, awesome. Also, like I previously touched on, uranium is changing, sort of. We've got one normal node going into 2 impure nodes. So you are probably going to have to get an extra drone out there, but in regards to production rates, it's not changing, it's remaining the same, just an extra node's being added. And finally, about 11 hours into the video, fuel power. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you for sticking it out. I really do appreciate you, legends. Thank you guys so much. But when it comes to fuel generators, I was really confused. What they said in the video wasn't entirely accurate, so here's what's really happening. Each generator now produces 250 megawatts rather than 150 megawatts. However, it consumes 20 liters of fuel rather than the original 12. But when you do the maths, it adds up to the same fuel consumption per megawatt of power produced. So it just means that you use less fuel generators, which obviously is awesome because you're saving resources on generators, you're saving potentially power as well, which is awesome. So yeah, that's a really cool change. That just about does it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and also thank you very much for all the support on the channel recently. You guys have been absolutely killing it. This is only my 3rd or 4th Satisfactory video, and you guys have shown me so much support and love, so thank you guys so much for that. I'm still a very small YouTuber, so reading you guys' comments, some of them are quite nice, so thank you very much. Have an amazing rest of your day, and Godspeed.